Welcome to Behind the Bubbles. Episode 2, The Education of a Winemaker. Learning the craft, living the journey. In this second episode, Yvonne Seier Christensen reflects on what it means to start something entirely new, to become a student again, and to build a foundation not from inheritance, but from curiosity and commitment. She shares her experience of studying viticulture, the humility of returning to the classroom, and the quiet confidence that comes from doing the work. A story for anyone who's ever chosen to grow, no matter when or how.
Hi, Yvonne.
Hi, Nina.
Good to be here with you.
Thank you so much.
So welcome back perhaps to this second episode where we are delving into Les Cinq Filles and to you as a winemaker and getting a little bit more backstage information than what we perhaps normally would get the insight into.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a privilege.
What would you like to know, Nina?
So many things. Well, in the last episode, you finished by giving a really valuable piece of advice to yourself and to really anybody out there: education. So, in deciding to become a winemaker yourself, how have you pursued knowledge, seeking all of the information, all of the experiences you would need?
It's a really important question. I mean, as I said earlier on, winemaking, or to become a winemaker, is not a walk in the park. Many of the vignerons in Champagne are born into it, so they don't necessarily have to go to get an education. They've learnt it from their grandpas and their grandmas and from their mums and dads, and they've been in it all their lives, and they know exactly what to do, and they do it great. But somebody like myself coming in from the outside into such a strong tradition with a rich culture and a process and a particular way of making still-based wine destined for Champagne, you need to get an education, 100%. So my first point of departure was, first of all, to kind of like understand what I want to be educated in. And I knew I wanted to own vineyards because at that point, when I went into education, I didn't have a vineyard. I had nothing. I just had the dream.
Yes, but that strong vision there.
Yeah. Strong vision, this dream. I had a lot of, drive, butterflies in my stomach every day. Like I just couldn't wait to kind of like conquer just a little bit of knowledge. So with a friend, a very, very good friend of one of my eldest daughter, Sabrina. I signed up to a degree,
right,
in viticulture and enology at Brighton University.
Back to school.
Yeah, back to school. And as I told you, I had studied, I did a degree earlier in my life. So it wasn't that I had to start from the very beginning.
You didn't need to learn how to study. You knew how to study now. You could
just go
straight at it.
Yeah. So, and funny enough, it's just not easy to be qualified in winemaking because there's not that many universities in the world that can give that education that I sought after. You've got UCL Davis in America, you've got Rosewood in Australia, you've got in Montpellier in France and Bordeaux, and then you've got Brighton University in the day I studied in England. It's the only place where you can actually get an education where you're in the laboratory and also in the vineyard. So going back to school, I went back as a mature student. I won't tell you how old I am.
It's a trade secret.
Yes, a trade secret. But I went in as a mature student, and I'm never going to forget my first day walking into a class of 19-year-olds. Not nothing wrong with 19-year-olds, but 19-year-olds, 21-year-olds. And the whole talk in the class before the first professor came in was which pub were they going to go to, and which girl was good looking and which guy was handsome. And I thought, oh my God.
This is what it's like.
Yeah. This is like something that I forgot. I guess I was like that 20 years ago.
Of course, you're in a different place in life.
Yeah. So sitting with 24 kids, because that's what it was like.
Especially to a mom of 5 daughters.
Yeah. Was that whole period was very strange, very interesting, very funny. And many of those young kids today are successful wine growers. Some of them have moved on to other industries. But just being in that class with a chap called Nick, actually, who I work with a lot today, was just incredible. Sitting with a group of people that didn't even have a dream. They were just in it because some of them just wanted to be educated. And some of them knew that they wanted to work in wines. And some of them just jumped on the course because they fell into it. Right. Yeah, it's really just very strange because, the first day of class, you had to say who you are and why are you here. Yeah. And I certainly wasn't going to tell the class who I was. And I certainly was not going to tell them why I was there because I would have spooked them off. I mean, I swear I must be, 30 years older than all of them. And in fact, I was older than the teacher. Right. Most of the professors at the university, I was just like, I could have been their mum. So going back to university, I also realized the struggles young people have. Right. Which I never thought about because it was such a long time ago. It's interesting to see that it hasn't changed.
Suddenly you're around it every day, but could look at it differently.
Definitely, it hasn't changed at all. Yeah. And it's just not easy to be a student today. So my heart goes out to all those students, and my message is stay in it. Just keep on going, no matter how difficult or hard it is. Just keep on doing it. Just keep on it until you graduate. Do not give up. As I even had to remind myself, because I thought it was tough. Don't give up, Yvonne. Keep on going. Keep on going.
No, I think that's really, really important, and I think that's one of the very intriguing things about the way you approach really anything I've seen you approach. Firstly, it's very intentional. Like, it's really, is this a yes or no? That's not the grey is sown there in a positive sense, because it means you then throw yourself into something when you're doing it. But what I have come to realize over the time we spent together is that you seem to have this dual line of thoughts. Like, you always have something very clear, something that you are either aiming for, wanting to happen, or some vision for whatever you are in. And then at the same time, there is this amazing openness, this registering, like, what is actually taking place around me? How will I then need to adjust to that? And how can I learn from that and use that? So it's so interesting what you're saying about meeting this young generation.
Yeah, it's great. It was great. Yeah. And intentional, yes. The intention was, you're not leaving this place until you get your wine science degree. Because without the wine science degree, you can't even begin to start to make wine. And that degree is so important because it's made up of so many different facets. One of them is wine production. So you spend a whole year learning wine production, how wine is made. And of course, in university, you have different essays and disciplines that you need to do.
You're like, how do I write it? Oh, this is a long time ago.
Yeah. I did have a mentor. Right. I had a mentor, a brilliant guy who supported me and guided me and all the way through the whole process. But still, that mentor's not in the class with you. No. That mentor is not on your exam.
No, and maybe it was a long time that mentor did dedication, him or herself.
Exactly. So, the classroom was a brilliant exercise and an important one. Because after we did wine production for the first year, and that was literally, the university's built up. It has its own winery, it has its own tanks, it has all of the strict health and safety procedures. You're in a real winery in the university. And the back of that is a whole land filled with vines. So you come in and out of the winery into the vineyards, and you do all of the disciplines of winemaking at the university. Right. It's full time. The time you start 9 o'clock in the morning, it's like 9 p.m. And then you've got to get down to recording what happened in the daytime. So I was up until, finish at 4 or 5, grab something to eat, which meant run to the pub, grab a beer. I used to run with the young ones, honestly. You're in a place, and these guys are, like today, my good friends, but that's your team. That's your study team. That's your study group.
Absolutely.
So I would run with them to the pub, which I don't mind, but I just don't drink beer.
No.
And then the pub food was just whole eating, I don't know, like in England, it's fish and chips, so it's pie and mash with mushy peas and all that stuff that I'm not used to eating.
Yeah, it's definitely outside of your comfort zone in that sense.
Nothing wrong with it, but
No.
that made up my main meal plan
Right.
during that study period. So I learned a lot, and I adjusted also. It adjusted me down to what really happens.
And I imagine it must also have been very, very useful for you now, where you are to sell your champagne. I mean, that's a part of it too, right? Yeah. And who are you aimed at? Who are you targeted at? Surely there's some from that same generation, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, absolutely. So in England, it's pretty special, I guess. Well, all countries have their culture in when they drink, when they start to drink, and how they drink and so on. But England's kind of special because we start in the age, even though it may not be permitted. So we have to be careful here. You know, we drink in moderation, right? We drink responsibly. Yes, we do. But
like the Danes.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But the long and the short is drinking stops at midnight in the UK. Or is it 11 o'clock? The last bell is ringing, last calls are coming. So everybody is at the point where they just are knocking back as much as they can before that bell rings, which I think increases the more issues of drunkenness, at night, because you've just got this short stop deadline.
Right.
Finishing at Brighton University, it was actually the annex of Brighton University. It was called Plumpton College. That's where I did the course or the degree, and that's where the vineyards were. But finishing off there was one of the greatest moments of my life, especially when you get the certificate in the post that you are now an enologist.
Right.
I'm like, me? An enologist? Wow. Is that the title you get? Yeah, sure. It sounds like a big name, and so it is, because we did study science. We did essentially a degree in chemistry, organic chemistry, right? But do I use all of those things I learned, especially the stuff that I didn't like to do? Do I use that today? Because it wasn't about champagne.
Right.
The whole degree is about winemaking, and I do not make red wines. And I do not make other spirits. My whole focus is about champagne. So I have a lot of that part of the education I've just now put aside. I'm mindful because it does come into play sometimes when you are in a winery and you've got some things going on that might not be quite right. Sometimes I open up my book and say, hey, oh yeah, I remember that. That was from 2019. That was from 2018. That was from then. And I often go back and read my books. And I also call one of the professors who's now no longer a professor at the university and now working in a fantastic sparkling wine company.
Right.
I often have him on WhatsApp and say, hey, professor, how do we solve this, or what happens next? Because I am a new winemaker.
So you have a lot of respect still for that position, and you have learned also when to be on your guard. One of the things that strikes me is that you always, wherever you go, whichever community you are in, you contribute to it. As a person, that's kind of how I see you. And I think I'm interested to learn, like when you go into an environment like that, having experience from another sector behind you, you must have been able to also pierce through many different issues and ask different questions to what the professors might be used to thinking about, or to what the study group might think about. How did you experience that? Yeah,
that's a really good point. I mean, first of all, being 3 times the age of everyone in the class, I've got a natural level of experience of life. So I would come across certain discussions where it was a no-brainer for me, and where others will be
Stuck in it.
Yeah, stuck in it,
Yeah.
struggling, looking scared, or so. I think during that period, and especially the study group I was in, I think we were in groups of 5 or 6. I was the one that organized everything. I played like the mum role, the organizer, the one with experience, and kind of like dictated the flow of and who would take on what role in the assignments and so on. So I was able to come into it with an experienced mind and support. I mean, the guys loved it. I mean, I had there were definitely more guys on the wine course. I mean, women are just not studying wine or wine production or to become a viticulturalist or even to become an enologist. There was 3 other women in the class, and even after the first year, 1 dropped out. So there was just like 2 plus myself out of a class of 24. So I was in an all-male group, and that was great. Right. And they listened, and we worked it out. And I would say, actually, and I'm sorry, I'm putting a pat on my shoulder, but I'm going to tell this and the group, if they're listening, they're gonna say, yep, true story. But our group was the most organized group on the whole year. The mother skills coming out.
Right.
Having the 5 daughters. These kids were the same age as my own kids, right? I mean, it was a very interesting and different position to be in and to be with them for 3 to 4 years. This is just not a 1-year course, right? Where you can just jump in and jump out. So, and we working all the time together. They become like your family.
Absolutely.
Yeah, a lot of them I still speak to them. Yeah, and one of them I'm working with today, which is just great.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's really amazing.
Yeah. And how about what were the exams like?
Horrible.
What sort of exams do you do?
Okay, so the exams some of them were practical, which of course I kind of like excelled in because I'm very much hands-on. Right. And with practical stuff, it's just about what can you do.
Yeah, it's going all the way back to your childhood where you were pretending to make wine with apples.
With apples, yeah, exactly. Yeah, those apples were something in my life, honestly. But yeah, the practical exams worked fine because I'm also a creative mind and I see things in pictures. So I did pretty well in some of the exams. Like, for example, we had, so one of the exams were, there were 10 glasses, just like this glass of water, all looking the same. And we had to, half a minute, a piece of paper and a pen, and we had to write down the level of sugar in each of the glasses.
In grams.
Right.
That's a challenge.
So you've got 10 glasses, all identical. Visually, it looked like 10 glasses of water.
Are you being told the grape or anything so you can counterweight the acidity or nothing?
Nothing. But there's nothing in the water except sugar.
Right.
So we have to figure out if there's 0.05 grams all the way up or all the way down.
So water with sugar. How much sugar?
Yeah. And we had that, So it's, how much sugar? And you had less than half a minute to...
per glass,
Yeah, per glass. And I thought that was very difficult. I'm like, oh my God. It looks the same. There's no tricks here. But I found out that sugar has weight. And in water, once you've got it inside and on the palate, you can feel the viscosity, the level of viscosity, which then gave me the answer. And this is all guesstimation because I don't think anyone can really get it spot on. But we do have some perimeters here. But it gave me an idea of not the sweetness, because on such small levels, there's no sweetness. There might be a hint of something, but there's no sweetness. So one of the most important techniques when we're tasting wine, just in general, with the glass, we look at the color, put it under the nose, and then we taste. And while we're tasting, a lot of professional somms, they swirl it around and they actually look for the viscosity. And that is how I passed one of my exams.
So you applied that technique actually leaving it there in your mouth.
Yes.
To
try to answer the question.
A very logical approach where many others might panic a little in that situation.
A lot of the guys were saying, I did so bad. I'm just like, no, you didn't. Because we've been training for this for so many years. But when you're sitting there and you've got these 10 glasses of water, I'm having a nightmare already, oh my God. But it's
getting more than the chemistry.
Yeah, exactly. And we had this exercise with sulfite and different other enzymes and things we work with to give you an idea what to look for, in wine, whether it's positive or negative. You don't always see it because of the color. So we are trained. That was fun. But sitting exams in terms of write-ups and so on wasn't my greatest strengths. They give you like 2 hours, or sometimes it's 3 hours. You think it's a lot of time, but it's not.
No.
And my hand used to ache me. Have you tried writing an essay?
By hand?
And you got to get it done in 3 hours? I mean, my fingers were aching me all the time. I'm just like, God almighty. No, but I mean, once you arrive to all your classes and you apply the study techniques that you're advised to take, and you do the studying afterwards and so on, instead of running to the pub and getting drunk and falling over and then coming back to school like with a bruise on the side of your head. That happens all the time. I saw that. But if you can just get back out after your class and then get immediately to study further or to close up your notes and then get something to eat and then enjoy yourself if you have to, and then go to sleep and wake up in quite a good time, you should be able to pass all exams.
Right. So it's about believing in being in a rhythm.
Yes.
And adhering to that rhythm.
Yes,
in some
exactly.
way.
Really important. Yeah.
So do you find any like specific source of inspiration, somebody that you mirror yourself in, that have really kind of led your way here?
Oh, that's a good question. I've never thought about that. Have I got a role model? Is there a role model?
Yeah, I guess you could say so.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's no one physically. I cannot think of. I mean, there's a lot of people I love and adore and I follow.
Sure.
But in the day when I was learning to be a winemaker and going through the education, my only factor was, how can I make the world's best champagne? How can I do that? This is what I got to learn. Maybe best is not the word. Let's go back to quality. I've got to do something on the quality level. So that was my role model.
Right.
How to be quality, how to make something quality, and what does it take? And can anybody even translate what quality means?
Yes, for sure. That's something I've been thinking a lot about, like whether people instinctively recognize quality when they meet it, or if it's something that requires education to recognize. It's an interesting question, but for sure education would prime you better to understand and recognize quality once you see it, right?
Yeah. But once you taste it, in this case.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And would you say that you also gather a lot of inspiration from outside the wine world and apply it in the way you think about wine?
Yeah. Yes. Well, let's go back to the big brands of champagne. I mean, what they're doing is outstanding. I mean, without them, people like me wouldn't have an opportunity to be where I am today and to have champagne on the world map that they have put it on and worked for many, many years to put champagne as a luxury, delicious, unique product made for people that want to have the best in life. They want to be part of a celebration, or to be part of something that they can own for themselves. And this is where the big brands really play a role in my mind. They make several millions of bottles, so I'm not anywhere there. So it's not about any kind of competition or competing, but it's about being in awe of what they do and how they've done it, and also keeping aligned to that, So the working process I adhere myself to, is definitely taken from the traditions of France and those great French winemaking families. There's nothing different I do with Champagne Les Cinq Filles at all, except follow the great masters and work in the process that we have asked to work, and use the materials and the equipment and the tools to ensure that the final product is great. I would say the big houses, the maisons, they have a house style which they have been doing for so many years and generations. And somebody like myself, I would consider myself a grower champagne who is more artisanal. And yes, I do have a style, maybe not a house style, but a style that is born from the terroir, because that's part of my ethos, you know, to work with and in a beautiful landscape of good soil and maintenance and management around all of that.
Yeah, I think we should dive a little bit deeper into that, actually. Like, you could say, like, finding the heart of Les Cinq Filles, and because having an idea which is in one way abstract as yours was, but at the same time a clear sense of a goal, right? Or a clear sense of what it should be, just not the point plan to get there, because you chose a path where you kept the options open, and I think that's brave to do.
Yeah,
like, not many people are willing to go about it that way, because it would make so many people insecure, right? Yeah. Oh, I don't know what the next step is. What then? Yeah. So like, why did you decide to buy a vineyard? Like, what made you decide that? Was it something that you knew from the beginning, or?
No, I didn't. I didn't know from the beginning. I had no idea. 10 years ago, well, not say 10 years ago, I was already in wine then, but let's just say 20 years ago. 20 years ago, I had no idea that I will be an owner of a winery and have my own vineyard parcel. And as I said earlier on in one of the earlier episodes, was that I take things step by step and day by day. And also the same approach has been with the champagne. First of all, once I understood the terroir I was working in, then I knew what to do next. And then when I studied and worked with that terroir, I looked at the soil, tasted the soil, worked with the soil, and I understood the environment I was in, then I decided, okay, we are at the point where we are Grand Cru. We're situated on the Côte de Blanc, which is one of the most beautiful mountain ranges in Champagne. We're in the village of Avis with a wonderful topography, landscape of Roman vineyards. The next point would be, hey, why not look at the biodiversity of this area? How is that working? So in our vineyard, let's say I'm in, I think it's 7.55 hectare, which I don't own, but I cultivate with others. I have my own parcel within that. We all have the same ethos: to farm organically, to work and live with biodiversity. The neighbor, vigneron, Isabel, she has planted all the way along the side of the vineyard beautiful wild flowers. And these wildflowers are replanted seeds from the environment. So we are creating there a beautiful biodiverse environment for pollination to occur, for this whole natural, important environment to exist. So the landscape of that particular vineyard produces really beautiful vines, and the end game of that is the grapes.
Yeah.
So this is not planned. This has just been a step-by-step process. Let's see what the next day brings, and let's just find out what nature is going to show us. And then with that understanding, when we finalize the second fermentation and and we bottle and we leave the bottles down for those minimum 15 months. And like I said, it doesn't have to be 15 months, it could be longer. But the point where we disgorge, my philosophy is, hey, don't add sugar. Try not to add the dosage to bring it up to the point of a typical traditional brut. But with the one we've got here, we decided to make it untypical and don't add any extra sugar. It can live on the residual sugar in the bottle or from the grape. Some winemakers will say, huh? You have residual sugar in your bottle? Really? You're a bad winemaker. But I think with the idea that you do need to have these sugars in, especially if you're planning not just sugars, but other elements in wood, barrels and all that stuff that we do that brings on a good aged champagne, and you want to have it for 25 years, then you should think about sugars and think about your barrel methodology and think about many other things. But in my case, working with a champagne that I know that I would like to release earlier, it doesn't really matter. What's important is that I can show in the flavor of the champagne, the terroir speaks. There's nothing added in that bottle that changes that flavor of when those grapes were pressed. Especially with the 217 we did. We did spontaneous alcoholic fermentation. We did alcoholic fermentation spontaneously is basically working with the native yeast of the vineyard.
And in your winery as well.
Yes, of course, there. And the only time that we do add yeast is on the second fermentation.
Yeah, which you hardly can do without.
So. If you want bubbles, you better just get on it,
That's
right?
That's the thing.
Yeah, so I think that, and this is only for our Les Cinq Filles zero dosage. It's also the flagship. It's also 100% organic. So this is only done with this particular cuvée. I point out because we have the other cuvées that has a dosage, and we work with sometimes batonnage and so on because we want a different nuance. But this particular one, which is our flagship, is made in a very special way.
Yeah, so you had that sort of, I think you mentioned earlier in the first episode, like the holistic approach. And you can certainly hear that is carried all the way forward to the end with this, in particular, this one here with the flagship, but also in general. And in episode 3, that's where we're going to take the deep delve into the winemaking part. So look forward to that. I'm curious about how do you come across land in Avis? I mean, Avis is probably...
You don't.
That's the thing.
You don't. Everything in Champagne is generationally handed down. I mean, on occasion, obviously, there's some people that don't have a generation to hand down, and where the vineyard comes up for sale and it's just not open to the general public. It's and it's not first come, first serve either. It's all done within the community of the village and those people that live there and work together. And it's just not done by knocking on the door and say, hey, I'm going to sell my land tomorrow. You have to go through the Sephar. The Sephar is the official, obviously they work alongside with the CIVC, but the Sephar is the official, say, land owner authority in terms of when somebody wants to sell their vineyard. And like I said, it rarely comes up. I remember the first time when I went to France many, many years ago, somebody asked me, what do you want here? And I said, oh, well, I'm just looking, maybe I can buy some vineyards. And they laughed. Maybe you can buy some vineyards. Get a life, lady. Vineyards are not for sale, just so you know. In Champagne. Champagne is not for sale.
No.
So I became lucky. We used the word luck, or I was at the right place at the right time.
You placed yourself there.
Yeah, I placed myself there intentionally.
That's the thing.
And met a wonderful lady who was at the point of her life where she had a property and perhaps she didn't have the family. I don't really know the story. But I came into her life and we agreed to, or she agreed with me that she would sell her house, which was just completely amazing and crazy amazing at the time, because it was right at the right point of when I was graduating.
Right.
And yeah, that's really the beginning of being an owner of this magical place in Les Cinq. I bought it from a lovely lady, and it's not often that that land comes together with a house, because it was with the house, and that was it. So I bought the house with the parcel.
Yeah.
That was it.
So the parcel is in Avis, correct?
Yes.
And the house itself in Menil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct, yeah.
Nice.
Which is just a couple of kilometers down the road. It's just a wonderful drive up and down, literally.
And I think you could also argue, like, Avis, you could hardly ask for better if you want to make a single vineyard cuvée, because there's a lot of wisdom in old methods, including blending in Champagne, where in Côte de Blanc, not very many of the terroirs can actually stand alone, right? Some, like Menil, if you don't have time, you will need to soften it up some other way with using other grapes, right?
Yes, yeah.
If you have time, sure, Menil is incredible, but 30 years is also something, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And then with Cremant, you can get these beautiful, very little bit earlier drinking, creamier expressions, right? Aucher, even more on the fruit profile, whereas a visit sort of strikes that balance where you get the nerve, you get the linear expression you want from it, but still, like, you can approach it. It has enough body, it has enough weight in the fruit.
It has
to kind of be a full champagne in itself.
Yeah, but that's really important. And that's the whole idea about champagne. Champagne is all about blends. And perhaps, which was quite new to me, was I didn't realize at the time, and now I'm in the village, but I didn't realize at the time that many of the families, they have plots in different places in their village. So they've got a plot on a completely different microclimate up the hill, close to the top of the Côte de Blanc, and then they have another plot down on the lowlands. So basically, you could call that a single vineyard if you are lucky enough to have 3 or 4, 5 or 6 different plots, but just scattered around that whole region in the same village. Let's say region, area. Yeah. And this is where the magic begins. So in the bottle we have here, the champagne, Les Cinq Filles, 217. I need to correct myself. 17 has got 3 villages along the Côte de Blanc. It's got Auger and Cremant included. And I believe 18 is villages only of Avis. So several plots in the same village.
So you would actually change year by year?
100%.
Based on the intuition, where are we here?
Based on the weather. Yeah. Based on the weather and what was grown and how it tastes. Because what happens is, it's a little bit of a nightmare, I think, that you have no idea.
Yeah, and there's something about you like going out into the vineyards also unsolicited, right?
Shh.
Okay, we don't
That's
talk about
a little bit of a secret. But I will say that I am curious because I own just a small plot. It's enough to make champagne. It's enough for me to call my own. And it's enough for me to press grapes in my 4-ton cock-hard basket press. Obviously, I do as everybody else does. We buy in grapes from other vignerons. That's no secret. Everybody trades grapes during harvest to also find, as you said, Auger is a bit fruitier. Avis more lineal, and so on. Cremant's got the yellow flower. So we don't know how those grapes are going to arrive in 2025. We don't know how much rain is going to be this year, or how the sun is going to shine, and how much solar radiation is going to be hitting those leaves. We do not know. So we cannot even begin to think how this year is going to be.
That's one of the things I'm always impressed by winemakers, because you totally leave the destiny into something that is beyond your realm of control. Yeah. Sure, you can do small things here and there to help a result along.
Yes.
But what has it done to you as a winemaker to also be a landowner?
Yeah. Well, it gives me a lot of pride, and the importance of take care of what you have. I mean, it's like having another child. You know, every time I'm passing the road D9, I'm always taking a shortcut and going back just to have a look.
Right.
Of course it's still there, but just to have a look. To take care that disease is not coming in. You kind of like know that anyway from the villagers. There's so many people that we have around, I mean, and you are informed. If there's too much rain and not enough wind and so on, and disease is creeping in, and is it dry enough to spray, or if it's not, and so on. You're kind of like informed. If you don't figure out yourself, someone will tell you. But for me, it's just the ownership. I take pride in it, and I always ensure that it's in a good place, and everything's working as it should be. But going back to blends and working as single vineyard cuvées or single village cuvées and so on, a lot of the houses, part of their heritage, have reserve wines where they're able to copy paste the same wines that they usually make year after year. They just add, if they feel like it's a need to add something different for the new year. So blending is really the ultimate treat. The ultimate moment. And I say a treat because it is a treat. If you get a good vintage and a good year, it's just so wonderful to have a vintage called 2025, which we're waiting for, to have the right amount of rain and wind and sun for that perfect harvest that you can call a vintage. That's the treat you get, you know, from being a farmer, because that's what we are. We're farmers.
You are farmers, sure. You know, I think that looks can sometimes be deceiving. Like you are here today, beautiful, nice dress, nails done, but the majority of the time, I suppose you are in rubber boots with dirty hands.
Dirty
right?
hands, rubber boots, getting wet, putting my hand down on the soil, cutting, pruning, vineyard management.
Sometimes people forget.
Yeah,
but that's also your reality.
Yeah, that is the reality. I mean, it's hard work. I mean, it's just not a pretty face. I can tell you that now. but this is the thing. When you buy into a champagne because you suddenly find out that, wow, this is delicious, you automatically will look into who is the winemaker behind this. Who is it that produced it? What are their ethos? How do they work? How do they get? So you should do that. I mean, I don't know if people do that in reality.
I mean, that's a very good question. I know the answer for some, because that's what we do. But in the broader line, I'm not sure.
No.
But I think we will round off this episode, which was about the journey.
Yes.
And then looking forward to the next one, which is more about the winemaking and the vineyard itself.
Great. Thank you so much, Nina.
Thank you, Yvonne.
Thank you.